Welcome. I am so proud that we have a special session here today on social media, a social media industry panel on abuse, safety, and well-being. And I'm also super happy that Hinduja will lead the conversation. And I don't want to say so much because I just want you to talk. So very, very welcome. Give them a warm applause. The word is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again to those joining us online. So I want to minimize my words. My hope here was to make sure that we had a few representatives from major social media and gaming platforms to be able to share what they've been up to. Specifically, I want them to talk about their top priorities as it relates to safety, civility, online harm, and then also have a chance to discuss what they're doing currently and what they hope to do moving forward. There will also be time for Q&A, and so those of you who are watching online, hopefully you can type in your questions, and then I'm sure after each of the speakers has a chance to introduce themselves and take a stab at those questions, we'll also throw the QR code back on the screen so that those of you here can also type in your questions, and hopefully we'll get to a few of them. Really looking forward to that. So I think what I'll do to make this easy and efficient is just to turn it over to Johnny and then to Jacqueline, and then probably to Laura and then to West. They will introduce themselves, and as I mentioned, they'll go for it. They'll try to answer those two questions. So with that, Johnny?
Thank you, and thank you for having me over here and inviting us on a tremendous important topic, of course. So I'm leading, I normally would say Facebook's policy work in Sweden and Finland, but however, we just changed the name of our company, so now I'm leading Meta's policy work in Sweden and Finland. It's going to take some time before getting used to that, but that's the new name anyway. So the name of the apps and the services are still the same. We're a big company, and with the size of ours, the number of users we have on our platform, we get to see some of the best and some of the worst of society online. And in working with that, we have a clear responsibility to really mitigate the bad and also at the same time trying to amplify the good. And I want to be sort of utterly and deeply clear that bullying and other types of clear abuse is not allowed on our platform, and we're working hard to sort of get rid of that and address it. Now, that's not an easy task or easy work per se. It's a complex situation and trade-offs, and it's hard to detect sometimes, but it is a clear priority, and especially when the target or victims are children or younger people, teens. Now, our priorities, as you alluded to, for quite some time, or probably from the beginning of the services we started, has been on mitigating abuse, clear abuse, in any kinds of forms. But over the last year, one thing that sailed up as a parallel to that, still not taken over, but also a priority is the well-being in a broader sense, to try to figure out what kind of impact our services has on people when they're using them. It could be things like how much time you spend or other stuff like that. And do a lot of research and studies on it, and recently some of it has been published in the media where we had done one survey on the use of Instagram and looked at how people perceived whether it has a positive or negative impact. Some of that show that when it comes to body image, people said that it was a few more people than said it was negative than positive, but quite a number of other dimensions. And clearly the most of them people said that it has more of a positive than negative impact. But I want to emphasize the importance of doing that kind of research, which is also questions that we do. I think that's showing that we do care about these topics and work on them. Then just briefly, and I'll get in a little bit more to how we do this, but hand over to the others. I think we need to work on preventing all kinds of abuse and bad stuff and mitigating the bad, as I mentioned, from entering our platforms. Unfortunately, however we do that, some of it is going to come, and we need to be able to detect it. So that's another angle of work. And once detected, we need to act. And that's a number of things. The most clear thing is to remove things that violate our policies, and that's clearly not allowed. But there's a lot of other stuff in informing people, helping them, guiding them. So I'll get in more to those details in a minute, but I'll hand back for that time being.
Perfect. Thank you, Yanni. Jacqueline.
Thank you, Samir, and hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Beaucher, and I am the first and new Global Head of Platform Safety at Snap. I joined Snap just 6 weeks and 2 days ago. I joined from Microsoft, where I spent nearly 22 years working in safety. So I'm still learning, of course, and I'm very much using this forum as an opportunity to continue to learn and listen. Snap sees many of the same topical subject matter issues that other platforms see, but how they present on Snap and their volume and prevalence are not the same because Snap itself is different. Snap is a self-described camera company. It's centered around the camera and built around the camera on your cell phone or some other device. The company sees reinventing the camera as the greatest opportunity to improve the way people live and communicate. So when you open the Snapchat app, it opens to a camera. From the beginning, Snap was designed for communications between and among real friends, so people that you know in real life. For the most part, on Snapchat, not just anyone can contact you. First of all, they have to know your username. And if they know your username and they reach out to you, you have to mutually accept them as a friend. You have to affirmatively accept them. So it's very much like operating in real life. There is that reciprocated friendship before you can receive snaps or chats. And snaps are photos and videos, and chats are text messages. So Snapchat isn't about one person following another or random people coming into our lives without invitation or permission. Snapchat also has limited public profiles to 18 plus only. There are no public friend lists on Snapchat. So as you may be guessing, Snap is very privacy-centric. Also, the platform really focuses on creation more than consumption. So thus opening to the camera so that you can take a snap and you could share it with a friend. There are also no what we would call peer validation metrics. So no likes, no followers, no upvotes, no timelines, no friend counts, no news feeds. These can sometimes make people feel self-conscious or uneasy or worse. Snapchat's probably the most known for its ephemeral messages, so-called ephemeral messages. These are really delete by default messages. And the primary motivation for this feature was to mimic real-life conversations, because there are no verbatim transcripts of real-life conversations between friends about those dialogues and so forth. But as we know, people can take screenshots, so there's always that word of caution. And finally, on just a personal note, one thing that drew me to the company was the company's values itself. And those 3 values are smart, kind, and creative. Now, any company could put those words on a page and say that those are their values. So I was really determined to see if those values were embraced and lived. And I can tell you that after 6 short weeks and almost 2 days, they are. And it's very motivating for the work that lay ahead.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Laura Higgins from Roblox, it's so good to see you. I wish you were here in person.
I know, Samir, it's a shame. Next time, hopefully. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of it. And actually, it's a real honor because I know 2 of the people on the panel very well as well. So, and Jacqueline, I just wanted to say I'm so happy that you've taken on this role at Snapchat. I've known Jacqueline for many, many years. And I actually used to sit on Roblox on Snapchat's safety advisory board when it was first set up. And so I can actually, really vouch for everything that Jacqueline's just said in terms of the integrity of the company. So I'm really excited to see where you go next with all of this. But I'm going to talk about my job now. So I am Laura Higgins. I'm the Director of Community Safety and Civility at Roblox. I'm going to guess there's a lot of people may not even know what Roblox is, even though we have significantly grown over the last few years. But essentially, we are a fully user-generated platform. All the content on the platform is built by millions of developers and creators all over the world. And every day we have millions of people coming and connecting and hanging out and spending time together, and particularly at a time when they've not been able to do that in the real world, it's really been valuable. So people will share different experiences. It could be that they play a game together. They could go to a concert. They can go to fashion shows. They can go and hang out in a skate park. They can go and explore new parts of the world that they've never been to. Literally anything that their imagination can create. I'm going to talk about the metaverse. And so we've been talking about this for many, many years. We're 15 years old now, and this was very much part of the vision right from when Roblox was founded. The idea being that we could connect billions of people through these shared experiences, but safety and civility really are foundational in all of that. We wanted to have a platform that was welcoming to everybody. Everybody feels safe. And so our key priority, it is our number one priority, is obviously ensuring that the community members can come together and be creative and spend that time, but feeling safe, it's inclusive, respectful at all times. So, we've been building out all these really stringent safety systems. Roblox has really appealed to young people always, probably the younger demographic out of this group of panelists today. But actually, we've aged up a lot. And so now over half the people on the platform are teenagers, and adults, are coming and creating on the platform. So we have this really diverse community. So we need to make sure that we are keeping everybody on the platform safe. And we're continuously evolving these as the community grows. So recently we have updated our community standards to really make sure that they are very clear, simple to understand for anyone coming onto the platform, and that they're also reflective of the fact that things have changed over time. There are certain givens. I think we can all make assumptions that, certain tools need to be in place. Obviously, we have strict chat filtering, and, we can't share personal information. Like, everybody here, we have zero tolerance for bullying or harassment on the platform. But sometimes there are nuanced things, or things change, real world events and things like that. So we really work hard to make sure that we're kind of very, very agile when it comes to tackling some of those things. For us, my role particularly, and the word civility, and again, I'm going to give a nod to Jacqueline, because actually this goes back to a civility index that Jacqueline has been running for many, many years at Microsoft. And it just really sparked something with us about what civility really means on a platform. We should all expect basic levels of civility, but actually it can be much deeper than that. It is those softer skills that people use every day in the real world, but we expect to see them on the platform, but we sometimes have to train people. So it is, how do people resolve conflicts appropriately? How do they support one another? How do we encourage people to be those upstanders and give them both the tools, but also the resilience and things that they need to be able to tackle those things? So yes, for us, some of these things are around very much partnership engagement is key for us at Roblox. There are eyes and ears all over the world, and education. So really working with caregivers, parents and educators and law enforcement and policymakers, as well as the people on the platform, to give them the tools to be really digitally savvy, to give them confidence. We talk about digital mastery now, taking it one step further than just the basics, and really sort of seeing what we can do there. And one of the things we're really focusing on is encouraging civility to run throughout. This isn't something that happens outside of an experience. We want our creators to build experiences that encourage these civil interactions and positive interactions, and maybe a bit of education in there as well. So one of the things I wanted to just briefly flag is that one of the partnerships we launched recently was with the UK organisation Internet Matters, which is an online safety organisation supporting parents. And our first project together was to do a study with 19 teenagers over 3 days over the summer, where we wanted to just hear from them what their online world was like, and the sorts of things they really wanted their parents to understand about it as well. And there were some really interesting things on there about their resilience, the ways that they were dealing with bullying, trolling, hate speech, and those sorts of things. Sad to hear that obviously it is still happening, but they were very confident in, yes, it's not very nice, but I know how to deal with them. I know how to report. I know how to take action, and very much this community action of supporting one another. But they were really vocal about, actually these negative experiences shouldn't be happening to me. Industry, you have this responsibility to really step in and make these places safer for us. One of the ones that was quite sad for us was we talked about creativity. Now, on a platform like Roblox, which is all about creating, whether it's your avatar, whether it's your experiences, whatever you want to build. And quite a lot of them were saying that they were fearful of creating on whichever platform, and obviously a lot of them were using TikTok and YouTube as well. And they were saying, I don't upload, I don't like to share the content I create because I see these negative comments that people leave on other platforms, and I don't want to have that happen to me. So again, they're really telling us things. We should be listening as much as possible. And I'm very lucky in my role at Roblox that we are, I spend time with the community. I have a sounding board of young people that I talk to about civility and safety, and really try to hear from them and to use that to influence platform changes and product changes. I think that's really valuable. And just really having this multi-layered approach to safety. It's not just a tool that you can take off the shelf and apply it on your platform. You need to keep iterating. You need to use different techniques, tools. And of course, we always will need those human moderators. And I will stop there.
Thank you, Laura. West Hart, I have never worked with you in this capacity, but I'm so happy that you're on our panel. My wife's family actually introduced me to League of Legends as a way of welcoming me into their little crowd. And some of you play League, some of you play Valorant or one of their other titles. And I've seen West on other panels discuss not always about how we can, combat abuse, but more proactive and more innovative ways that they've experimented with over the years at Riot in order to, let's say, induce civility, whether it's in the form of nudges. They've had tribunals, which is juries of peers, to try to figure out ways to sanction aggressors or offenders. And so just a lot of really amazing things. And I've always looked up to him and what him and his team are doing. And so I'd love to welcome you, West, and I'd love to hear some of the things that you're up to now. And please share your title also, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind. And I'm realizing now that a couple of my notes I can leave out because I don't think I could have introduced myself better. Thank you so much. My title is the head of player dynamics. And it's a different term from what we've historically used. We focused on the term player behavior. And the reason we needed the distinction is because we've learned some pretty hard lessons over the years, and we've recognized the limitations of some of the approaches that we have taken and that we needed to take a different approach. The term player dynamics simply comes from social dynamics. And what we're learning to do is how to create better, just healthier social environments by default. And where this is different from where we started with the player behavior team and where I started at Riot many years ago was we were within League of Legends, a single team trying to help reduce disruptive behavior, or more specific, or well, actually more broadly, we used the term toxicity at the time. And we made some really good progress. We've definitely had our share of lessons where some of the things we were looking to do weren't quite successful. And some of those lessons are that we may have been trying to solve the problem at the wrong point in time. Once you have an established game, once you have millions of players, once you have people with deeply ingrained habits, you might be just trying to change the people as opposed to changing what you really can control, which is the product. And player dynamics as a craft, which we're formalizing, is really about that. Ultimately, it's called Lewin's equation, which is a behavior is a function of people and environment. Now, we don't make the people, but we do make the environment, and we do bring people into them. So player dynamics is a field, and within Riot, we are formalizing it into a design discipline that will help us not only address issues with live games, but make the games better by default, to help avoid common forms of friction that manifest as disruptive behavior. And we saw this on League of Legends with the team builder feature, which was really trying to address a design problem, which is that people weren't getting to play the way they wanted to play, and they were doing what they could to choose those roles. And it's like a bunch of kids on a football field all wanting to play quarterback. A few people are going to be pretty angry for the rest of the game because they didn't get to do it. So to put it another way, we're addressing problems of disruptive behavior and helping to create healthier social environments at different stages. And this craft that I'm speaking of is meant to help at those different stages. Of course, we have live games. We're going to need moderation systems to help detect those behaviors, but unfortunately, they don't prevent them. And so we need more proactive measures. And we're looking for live games and titles that are in development, like what can we do ahead of time for those things that we know may happen, having a choice, expressing intent, avoiding just general conflicts of interest. Which of course are going to always manifest in problems. We all know this. Everyone here has been on a team. These are common problems. But what I'm particularly excited about is Riot's commitment to long-term change, which is looking at games at the earliest stages of conception and understanding when we put people together, what could go wrong? Or more importantly, what should go right? What can we do to help bring out more of the game? We are known generally as a company that creates competitive multiplayer games. And those heated environments definitely don't always bring out the best of us. And we know there's still plenty of things to be done there. But we do recognize, again, we could avoid a lot of problems. Not all. I mean, we're humans. We're emotional creatures. We're going to have our moments where we'll irritate each other, and so it's not about that entirely, but it is recognizing what are our responsibilities in the environments that we create, and what can we do better to help, achieve the goals of the game, but also meet the expectations of players who do come there for those. If we were only talking about the competitive experiences, for that challenge, right, and help them achieve that, but in a way that develops cohesion. And so that's got us thinking much more long-term, much more fundamental. And the design group that we call Player Dynamics is actually working across the company. We no longer have a single team on a single game. We are working at a platform level with a group called Central Player Dynamics, and we have specialized teams on our live games, sometimes multiple teams that are not only working with platform, but addressing those things that are more bespoke, because each game will have certain behaviors that are more of a problem than others. And the most challenging space for our titles overall is voice chat. Voice chat is it's about as free form as it gets, and anything that people can bring to games, they will bring into voice chat. And so we actually have within our platform team 2 pods that are dedicated to different aspects of taking on that challenge. And we have other teams that are looking at how can we, through more proactive measures, not just looking at moderation, right? Because that the harshest way to look at it is detection systems almost profit on pain. They're only as good as the pain that they detect, but they don't avoid it. And so what else can we do, right, to help influence behavior in a way that develops group cohesion, that ultimately would develop community resilience where there isn't the type of fertile ground for these things. And it's a lot. There's no getting around it. But if anything, what we're trying to do, or on top of what I've already mentioned, it's not focused so exclusively on the negative behaviors, because people don't come to games to just think about those things. They come for the fun. It's not all bad. It's easy to focus on that, but bad for humans is stronger than good. We'll remember a bad experience far more than the positive, but that's why it's important to focus on the positive. We need exponentially more positive experiences in order to overcome any of the negative. And when we get there, and we know there's a lot to learn, and it's going to take folks like everyone here on the panel and everyone that's listening in to look at the different dimensions, because there's no silver bullet. But ultimately, if we can create resilient communities, there just won't be space for some of these behaviors, and people will feel empowered to do something about it. So we got a lot of work to do in the short term. We're committed to the long term, and very excited that we're not alone in this, and that there are many wonderful people that are working through their companies to help make the world a better place.
Thank you, West. You can see that he lives and breathes all these variables at the intersection of technology and online communities and socializing groups, and so it's just really impressive. Thank you. We have so many questions that have come in. I wish that we had an hour to spend on this, but I just have to pick and choose a few of them, and so I'm just going to do that. And of course, Yanni, if you want to continue with your line of thinking that you didn't get to cover first. But I'll make it a 2-part question, and you can choose what you'd like to answer, all of you one by one if you don't mind. First off, reports. We encourage youth to report. We encourage adults to report. We have features and functionality within the control sets available in our products, but this is a theme, honestly, across many of the questions. It still feels like many people are unhappy with the response, whether it's the promptness of the response, the inadequacy of the response, the adjudication as necessary from the company related to the aggressor. So what can be done about that? And then the second issue, I'll just say very briefly, underage users. We know that they're disproportionately susceptible to harm. What is being done? What can be done about underage users? So yeah, feel free to tackle on one of those. Johnny, we'll start with you.
Yeah, no, I think for us, the reporting features, there's still tremendously, of course, you need to have that easy accessible when something happens to you. You need to understand how they work to be able to use them. Our focus and emphasis has gone from just a few years ago when I joined the company, where that's where all the investment went. When we had a new problems, we just hired more people to be able to review those reports manually and understand what stuff came in, to be able to take the right action and diverge it to others that could help. The focus over the years has been a little bit to find more proactive solutions, to build technology that can detect this faster than humans can do, so that, again, trying to find ways of preventing the situation and maybe preventing someone from seeing abusive behavior and not having to report it. And look, that's far from perfect yet, but it's moving tremendously fast. The technologies that we have for this are getting better by the day. But still, there's no doubt that it is important. I can totally see, and myself experience it, of course, the frustration when you report something and you feel, why is this shouldn't be here? You report it and it doesn't, you get a response that says it didn't violate the rules, it shouldn't be taken down. And in some cases, that's the fact. I mean, for us, our community standards or the rules dictating what you can and can't do on the platform, that's what we have as a Bible of assessing these reports, and that's what determine. And we got to be, of course, frank about that. The users don't always know all those rules, but we still need them to be able to take consistent response and action. But sorry, I'll stop there.
That's perfect. Thank you, Yanni.
I would just say that your report matters. Don't think that it goes into a black hole. Don't think that it's not addressed. Don't think that it's not enforced upon. It is so important. The biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. Everybody can do more. Everybody can do better. But we have to start with that report, which is so fundamental to our operations. So please, when you see unwelcome behavior, bullying behavior, harassment, intimidation, any of the host of parade of horribles that is across the site, that is across the platform, that we specifically, explicitly, and clearly prohibit, report it to us, because it will be actioned. And those actions can range from warning the offender, suspending the account, closing the account entirely. It really is important, and those reports do matter.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Laura?
I would absolutely echo what Jacqueline said. I think, and particularly for us, where we're kind of trying to educate sometimes a younger community as well, it's really important to teach them the skills that they need to know how to do these, to know what happens when they do that. And to kind of, get, particularly with sort of parents and kids and with the younger ones, I think it's really important that the parents also support them through that process and show them by good role modeling as well. So that's really important. I think for us, one of the things that's quite interesting is the frustration sometimes, because it, clearly if something was bullying, then we would take action, but we get millions and millions of reports every day. And of course, sometimes it's just that a kid's just not enjoying a game. And so we're not going to take action on those. And so we have to kind of help them to understand which ones are actually a community standard and what's just that they're having a bad day. But always room for improvement, as Jacqueline said.
And West.
Well, many of the points I would make have already been made, so I will just add to them. Yes, it is crucial that you report. It is also crucial that we get better as companies at providing just acting as quickly as possible and providing feedback for everyone involved at every age. We found it to be very effective, as other companies have, by just letting you know that we have acted on a report that you've made. But if we can get to real-time feedback, now we're going to get at a point where we're actually able to help steer people in a better direction. and not just tell them they did bad, but tell them what they can do to improve. If we get better at that, I think it'll be a much more human experience, and it'll be much more effective for all ages.
Thank you, West. And hopefully the conversation we've had today, and I'm sorry I couldn't get to more questions, has given you all ideas. Maybe it's certain research agendas that you can pursue, maybe it's collaborative opportunities, but as our panelists have said, there's continued work that needs to be done, and perhaps partnerships can unfold. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you, panelists, once again for your time.
Thanks.
A warm applause. Thank you very, very, very much.